Nice to meet
Well,
you guys. I'm Ariana.
nice to
Nice
meet
to
you.
meet
I'm
you.
Delaney.
Katie.
So, how did you guys become friends?
We met in the fifth grade in science class. So, like when we were 10,
Mhm.
we've kind of been best friends ever since.
Yeah. Kind of found it early and stuck with what worked.
Would you say that you guys are that Delaney and Katie in the movie are similar to real life Delaney and Katie?
I think I'm much nicer. I don't think Katie's like a liar, I guess. So I think it
Yeah.
would maybe be probably the worst qualities we have extremely exaggerated.
Yeah, I think we wanted to like keep the fun parts kind of similar, like the emotional element of our connection in the fun that we have, but we wanted to exacerbate all of our negative qualities so we could like really kind of heighten the conflict.
Yes. So, a lot of people have friends, a lot of people have adult best friends, but why did you guys decide, let's really lean into this and not only write a movie together, Delaney, you direct it, but then star in a movie together? Why did you guys decide to let's have a working relationship as well?
Sure, yeah. We started writing together probably like 2 years out of college, and we had done like a web series together and a couple things. And honestly, like our working relationship was kind of very harmonious, like our friendship. And I think we both wanted to, tell a story that we felt is universal. I think everyone goes through that feeling of growing up and having to sort of shift your priorities, whether that's friendship or a new relationship. And I think we wanted to sort of tell that in our voices and have it be specific to and funny, but also have it be relatable for everyone. And I think we wanted it to be as pretty authentic, and I think that's why we cast ourselves, because we were hoping that our off-screen chemistry would help us a little bit. And so that's sort of why we decided to be in it together and do it together.
Yes. When you guys were writing it, what scene were you really excited to shoot? And you're like, I can't wait for this to kind of come to life.
I would say for me, it is Zach's scenes where he plays my brother Henry. He's like my favorite character probably in the movie, and Zach was so generous with his time in helping us develop the character and really specify him so he could be as funny as possible. And so Zach could do something that we know that he's hilarious just from working with him before, but so often people think of him for, thrillers or horror, sci-fi. So it was really fun to be able to help him to create a character that really showed everyone how comedic he is.
Mhm.
Um, and I loved the scenes that he had. And then when we rehearsed it the first time, I was so excited that Henry was just like there with us in the room. I was so happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
think I think one of the scenes that I was excited but also kind of scared to shoot was the stripper scene, just because it had basically like 9 cast members and I had no idea how it was going to turn out. And it's kind of the climax of the movie in a way. And so I was really excited to kind of get everyone in the room, and everyone we cast, you know, like Ben, Michael, Carmen, Cory, and Connor, everyone sort of had very good comedic chops. And so I was really excited to be in the room and just watch them all kind of go. And it was very hectic, and it was 105 degrees in Mississippi, and we didn't have AC on, and there was maybe 12 bodies in the room. So it was more stressful than I had envisioned when we were shooting it, but I think it turned out, exactly as I wanted it, in terms of the dynamics and everything going on. Everyone just really brought it and was so funny.
Yes. Speaking of Zachary Quinto scenes, his part is funny, but I'm always thinking like, who is their relationship more awkward to? Is John feeling more awkward with Delaney and Katie's relationship, or is the sister-in-law feeling way more awkward being in between these siblings?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think for the sister-in-law, she's like used to it in a way,
Yeah, she's
where
his
it's like
professional chops.
she's got it, she has the background in psychology to kind of navigate it, but she sits with this all the time. So it's kind of like, okay, here we go again. And I think she knows, versus John, I think is genuinely such a nice guy, and he's so kind that he just really can't understand why my character does not like him or does not want to be friends with him, because he wants to be friends with everyone. So it's really hard for him, I think, to put himself in the place of what's it like to be like a very negative, cynical person. And he can't, because he's very optimistic. So I think for me, that always felt more awkward, maybe because I was in those scenes, but just because like it's very clear that I don't, you know, I don't like him for the wrong reasons, obviously. You know, with the Heather stuff, I always thought like the therapist gave her a little bit more of a leg up in dealing with Henry.
And they're married, they have kids. So like, while they're kind of dysfunctional, like it works for them. You know, they found their groove. So it's weird to us, but like that's their everyday. Versus John and Katie have just gotten engaged and it's still like trying to navigate like how this is gonna work when her best friend just like won't give him a chance.
Yeah. And it's also like, Zachary, why are you going through my notes? Like, I feel like this is one of the lines. Like, you also cannot diagnose people, but please do not go through my patient notes. That's so wrong on so many levels. So I thought it was funny, but also I thought Mason Gooding was perfect for John because like he's literally like the tattooed golden retriever. It's like, well,
Yeah,
why do
yeah.
you hate him?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
done nothing wrong. But do you think he should have told Delaney before proposing to Katie?
So, well, we talked about it a
Yeah.
lot, and ultimately we wanted, because you're totally right, like Mason's so sweet and John is so sweet that like that goes together really easily, and like he only has to be himself for that to really come across to the audience. But it would wear on you that you have this third party in the relationship at all times, and we wanted it to be like his very subtle, not rebellion, but like, this is ours, it's between the two of us. I shouldn't have to loop in this third party before I do something that is really just between the two of us. We can tell her right after, she can be there for all the planning, but this is about you and me. So yeah, ultimately I think that's why we had to make that decision.
And I think it added, you know, like adding on to that, I think it also was like, you know, when Katie got engaged in real life, like, of course her fiance told me, but I think it also like helped to just, we wanted to put like a further wedge. So like, yes, my behavior is totally uncalled for and I'm a massive bitch, but like also like it there is a bit like there isn't a closeness and they are super awkward and like it almost like just keeps making it worse that like he's kind of awkward with me and really trying hard, but you know, also like creating kind of this like every time the three of us are together, it's very palpable how much like I don't want it to be the three of us and he probably doesn't either.
Yeah.
I do.
But you see that Katie was like, but you didn't tell Delaney, as if like, but you didn't ask my dad. Like she immediately was like, wait, and he's like, oh wait, I thought it could be a special moment between you two. Going like, oh yeah, no, I had always thought this out, but as you were saying,
Yeah.
it was very purposeful that he's like, no, this was like me trying to stand up for myself.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And Katie thinks she's off the hook. Like if Delaney's known this whole time and hasn't done anything and hasn't been mean about it, that means like, oh, like, all right, maybe this is gonna go well. And then, oh God, no, I have to tell her. Like that's a big problem.
If Delaney had gotten engaged in the movie, do you think Katie would have been excited or no?
Is Katie engaged in this?
No.
I still think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just character wise, I think like, you know, I think Katie's a more excitable, like open, you know, person versus me. I'm sort of in the movie, not myself, just to be clear. I think more close-minded and a little just like childish. So it's like anything that like I think Katie's kind of ready to grow up and I'm not. So I think like it would be kind of a sign that I am, you know, we're kind of entering the same playing field again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, why do you think Katie and Delaney are evolving in different ways and may also have different definitions of evolving? Because maybe Delaney never wants to get married or never wants to have kids, and that's okay too.
Yeah. And I think that like what we wanted was ultimately to show that I think like in the end, you know, there's always that debate of like, do I end up with someone in the end? And I think we kept that vague on purpose just because we wanted that to be like, I think my character's evolution is more so accountability and you know, actually trying to care about things versus like I don't think you know the end all is like getting married means you know like oh I'm an adult now. And I don't think that is for Katie too. I think for Katie, it's again, like we wanted to make their specific individual evolutions, mine being like, I'm more open, I'm nicer, I'm more accepting of things. And Katie's being like, you know, it's okay to tell the truth, even if people are going to be upset. So I think we wanted to like make, you know, those two kind of pave the way for those two character arcs, but also like, keeping still, I think the conflict being like, I never want to get married, and her being like, well, I do want to get married, just because it was, I think that is something that people deal with all the time. I think between us too, we always have conversations like, oh, do you want to have kids? And if one of us is like, well, yeah, it's like, oh, really? And we kind of go back and forth all the time, because it's like those, they just seem on the surface like those milestones everyone has to hit. When in reality, like, people, I think, go back and forth all the time in their heads of, do I want to get married? Do I want to have kids? Do I not?
And in terms of just kind of growing in different directions, I think you can see that a lot in friendships that started in childhood. Like when you're a child, your decisions are mostly being made for you. And for the most part, they're the same as everyone else's. Everyone's in the same third grade class. So like there's really only so many differences that you're going to come across. But then the older you get and your reality starts to be under your own control, all of a sudden you do have to make these choices about what's right for you. And there's so many more options than there ever were. So the older you get, the more you have to kind of look at each other and say, all right, we are best friends because of X, Y, and Z, but we're not exactly the same anymore.
Yes. Do you think a person's significant other or life partner, kind of their forever, has to be their best friend?
That's something like we've talked about a lot. And I remember, and I've told this story before, but like when Katie got married, I gave a speech at her wedding, and afterwards I was like, oh my God, like, whoa, this is really hitting me. Like, she's married, like she's a husband who she lives with, who she'll talk to every day.
She's
like
a whole new person.
where does this leave me? And I think, like, obviously, again, priorities shift when you have a kid or you have someone in your life that you're living with. Like, you do have a little less time for your friends, but I think we've always made a very conscious effort to, still very much be in each other's lives. And I would still consider Katie, I'm not married, so I let her speak, my best friend. And I think her the same. It's just kind of making the time and the space so that the friendship can kind of survive adulthood. But I don't, excuse me, I don't think that just because you get married, you're like, okay, this guy is going to take my, my friend's place. But certainly they have, a new role in your life, and you kind of have to adapt to it.
Yeah. I definitely don't think your partner has to be your best friend. Like, I think whatever works for you is great. Some couples live in different houses, some people live in different bedrooms, some people share a twin bed. Like, whatever works for you, I think is great. We always say, like, whenever you have a significant other, for us it would be a guy. Like, a guy, no matter how close you are with them, is never going to be like your close girlfriend. Like, there's some stuff you're never going to get, and they don't need to. And same with you. Like, I would never be able to, I don't know, make a fantasy football league or whatever the hell. Like, that's just never going to happen. So I don't think they're the same thing. I don't think they need to be.
Yeah, I think always when there's like an addition of another thing in your life, whether it's you get married and then you have a kid, like, your heart can grow bigger.
Totally.
So, but yeah, things can shift at different moments in time, but it doesn't mean like anyone is less important, but your heart can grow bigger, like an immigrant.
Yeah.
But there's this scene in the movie where you're guessing who this person is based on their Instagram caption. Is that based on like a real life experience or something you guys done?
It is a game we play.
We do play that.
Yeah.
I think because we have so much history with each other,
Yeah.
we have so much overlap with friends and people. It is something that we've done before, because like we just know we talk we talk all day and we work together. So even if it's like Katie's like co-workers or like my cousin, like we have a history together where we can automatically kind of know. And so I think we added that to sort of one show. Like, it is a bit childish and it is a bit catty, and to kind of present them as, that they're playing, like they're kind of being childish together. And then like, so once you present John is in the room, it's almost like, wow, this is like pretty exclusive to have someone who hasn't.
Not fun for John.
It's like when you're at a dinner with everyone who's gone to high school together and they're talking about high school stories, and you're just sitting there like, okay, like any change of subject soon so that I can be involved in the conversation. So yes, we play it, and I think we wanted to add it to just sort of isolate John even more, and sort of show the state of our friendship at the beginning of the movie.
Yes. And this whole version of Airbnb, was it kind of an ode to how Airbnb is a very odd social experiment, basically?
Yeah, it's more than an ode. It's like ripped from the headlines of my life when I stayed in one of these Airbnbs, and truly it was billed as a private space, and sure enough, we like had a roommate that was the landlord. We woke up every morning to their flip-flops as they were like puttering around. Truly, like we were all just staying in one space together. I mean, we've stayed in a lot of Airbnbs together. Like they can get so funny.
Yeah, I think it's just a person you're like it is. You know, it's ultimately like an Uber experience too, where a lot of the times it's not a professional driver. It's like
Just
a
a
guy with a
person.
car.
Just a
And they're
person.
driving you around and you're just like having a conversation. So just a person who's, and I think we wanted to, I thought you know, not only do we find it really funny and there's things we want to add to things sometimes that have literally no consideration for the plot and then end up therefore not working, but we liked that this sort of added conflict once they were in the beach and also showed a clear difference between them where Katie's trying to be more of an adult and get like a house and I'm trying to stay at the, you know, the motel. So, and Cory Walls, our friend who plays Dougie, we were just so excited to, because he stayed in Airbnb with us where we kind of had a weird experience and we were very excited to like have him portray that on screen.
Yes. I also felt very representative because I hate basically Airbnbs and Uber. It's creepy. It's like everything we were taught that we were little is now go to a stranger's house in their car and stuff. Just go.
Also, it's not a job for everyone. Like
No.
everyone's like, oh, I have this house, I have this room, like an additional source of income. Like it takes more than that. And it's a personality fit. And not everyone should be signing up for these hosting roles.
No.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Congrats on your premiere. And I can't wait to talk to you about new movies and projects. I know there's so much to come.
Well,
thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.